And then, yeah, just introduce yourself and then we'll have our conversation. So go ahead.
So I'm Lisa Escárcega. I am running for State Board of Ed in Congressional District 1. How are you, Kristen?
Good. I'm Kristen Seidel. I'm the campaign manager, and we're here to just have a quick conversation for everybody. And I'm going to go through some of the most popular questions we're hearing on the campaign trail, and you'll start seeing weekly or bi-weekly installments of conversations with Lisa. So if you have questions, be sure to submit them to the campaign either through Facebook or at contact@lisaescarcega.com. So the most common question we get is, what does the State Board of Education do, Lisa? How is it different from our local boards?
Sure. All right. I always think about the state board work in a couple different big buckets. The first I would say is every law, every education law that gets passed by our state has something inside of it that says according to the state board rules. So the state board writes rules for every education law that's passed. The law says, here's what we want to accomplish. Maybe it has some details, but the state board writes in the how it gets done. For instance, let's say it says every school, they want improvement plans, right? School improvement plans for every single school. The state board would say, all right, here's what's in the plans. Here's when they're due. Here's how you turn them in. You must publish them on your website. They do all the details. That takes up a lot of their work, and I don't think people are aware of all the rulemaking that goes on. But that's a big one. Second one I often think about is funding. The federal funds we get for title programs, Title I, Title III, the ones for students on free reduced lunch, for our English language learners, all of the federal money comes through the Department of Ed, comes into their budget. Most of it flows right back out to districts, but the budget has to be approved. The board approves those budgets, those expenditures. They do have some of their own money that comes in through grants, and they'll approve that as well. So that's part of what they do. So funds. Another one, of course, is personnel. The state board only hires the commissioner, just like a school board where you only hire the superintendent. The state board hires the commissioner, commissioner hires the rest of the staff. Another area that they actually have quite a bit of, again, they spend quite a bit of time, is around teacher or educator licensure. They have a whole department. So every educator in our state, whether you are like me, a school psychologist, or you're a teacher, counselor, whatever it is you do, whether you're a principal, superintendent, you get a license, you have to go through the Department of Ed. They approve those licenses. They also approve higher ed programs for teachers to become teachers, principals to become principals, etc. So they spend quite a bit of time. If a teacher is charged with a felony or a principal is charged with a crime, they also have the authority to remove licensure, and they do that. Rarely, but they do that. And then last, I think probably two areas that most people think about the state board because it gets the most press is they approve standards, assessments, and accountability. It comes through law, but it is the state board that says, here's the process we're going to have for setting standards. They get the groups together. They approve the standards. Same for assessments. They choose the assessments. They approve them. And then, of course, accountability. They do things like decide what the cut points are, how many schools will be in turnaround, how many will be in improvement. So that's where we've heard quite a bit of press. They also, not every meeting, but occasionally you'll see that they will have a charter appeal come up, right? So local boards approve their charter schools. If the local board says that they don't think this is in the best interest of their community, students, parents, and staff, they want to deny the charter. The charter has a right to appeal to the state board. The state board hears that appeal, and then they rule on that. Innovation plans that are of a level where they are removing teachers' TECTA rights, those also all get approved by the state board. So that's pretty much, that's a lot. It is a lot. They meet 2 days a month, back to back. And of course, there's small conversations between, but it is 2 full days of board meetings each month.
Wow, that is a lot and a lot of different buckets to be working in. Thank you so much for explaining it in such detail. The next big question we always get is, what inspired you to run? What made you decide to take this on? As we know, the State Board of Education is a volunteer job,
Yes.
so it's not paying you money. You just said you have 2 big meetings a month, which also means you have a lot of reading and everything going into it. So what inspired you to take on this role within education after a really successful 36-year career of education?
Oh, thank you. Well, it really came up a few years ago. There was a law that was being sent through the legislature that was going to give the state board more authority, particularly around accountability. And what was occurring is every time a change somebody wanted to make a change to, maybe it's the cut scores or maybe it's the assessment or something, we were always having to go back to the legislature and opening up the accountability law. So they approached us. At that time, I was working for Aurora Public Schools, and they approached us and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, I think that's a good idea. It makes sense, but I have concerns about this state board making those levels of decisions." And the policy person that was with me very, very just looked me straight in the eye and said, "Well, good policy is good policy. It's the people that, if you need to change the people, you don't base good policy on people, just change the people. You should think about running for the state board." And that started it, right? I've worked with the state legislature and the state board pretty closely over the last 4 years of my career, done a lot of policy legislative work. And especially with what they're dealing with now in the last 2 years and what they're going to be dealing with around assessments, accountability standards, all those things, it's my area of expertise. And I just knew this is a place that I could make a difference. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to run for the legislature. State board, that's my wheelhouse, that I can do. So got motivated.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for running. It's never an easy thing to do. And our last question for today, it's kind of a fun one. You're from Detroit. So Michigan or Michigan State?
Good question. All right, here's how this works. You don't choose, you're generally born into one side or the other, right? It's by birth. My mother was a U of M fan, never went to college. My father, nobody in my family had gone, but for whatever reason, I think her father was a U of M fan. So I am a Michigan fan, and will tell you it's by birth. Now, it's the best rivalry in town, and I enjoy the games and do watch them. But it is Michigan for me.
That's great. Thank you. I guess we can't hold it against you if you were born into it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, and thank you for your time. And we'll be doing this again soon with some new faces. And like I said, if anybody has any more questions for Lisa, they could either do it face-to-face like this or just send them to me at contact@lisaescarcega.com, and we'll go ahead and get your questions asked too. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Stay safe. Stay 6 feet away.
Thank you.